the end of the day, this election boils down to one thing, which is, do Americans have the balls to vote for Brexit freedom or not, as the British people did? My consistent view for the duration of Britain's 6-month-long EU referendum campaign during the first half of this year, as illustrated by more than 50 articles and more than a dozen videos, was that Leave was going to win and Brexit was going to happen, despite consistently being well behind in the opinion polls right the way into the close of the polls on the 23rd of June 2016. I confirmed my expectations that Brexit was going to win in my final forecast conclusion some 12 days ahead of the poll, when I reiterated that Leave would win on 51.3% against Remain on 48.7%, with the actual result coming in at 51.9% Leave to 48.1% for Remain, a near 4% swing from Remain to Leave that shocked Britain's establishment elite, who had convinced themselves that their relentless propaganda machine had worked to achieve a Remain victory even during the first couple of hours after the polls closed on the 23rd of June, which you can watch as it happened on Brexit night in this following video. A 4% swing is what Brexit means that few saw coming, including the opinion pollsters, political pundits, analysts, mainstream media, the markets and the bookmakers. All failed to register the fact that the people of Britain really did have the balls to vote against the political elite that had played past the parcel amongst themselves for the past 40 years. So, the people of Britain, presented with a chance to vote against the interests of the establishment, then did so, which immediately ended David Cameron's Prime Ministership, who would soon be followed by most of his cabinet buddies from George Osborne downwards. While since Brexit, virtually everything that the establishment elite, the politicians, mainstream press, IMF, EU, OECD and the Bank of England warned would happen, instead the opposite has happened. So instead of recession, the UK economy is booming. Instead of crashing stocks and house prices are trading near all-time highs, and interest rates, instead of soaring, fell after Brexit. The only thing the elite got right was the drop in the pound, but that was without understanding what it actually meant, which is that Britain actually won the currency war that every major economy has been engaged in one of competitive devaluations in an attempt at importing inflation and exporting deflation. And all this even before reaping the full rewards of Brexit. And so similarly for this year's US presidential election, my analysis of 25th of September also concluded that Donald Trump, the anti-establishment candidate, would win, despite being well behind in the polls and betting markets. This was based on the trend trajectory that Donald Trump had been on for some time, which was for the slow erosion of the support for Hillary Clinton, the establishment candidate. Whilst I won't repeat my analysis of 25th of September, which you can watch in this video, it's just that the Brexit factor was for the probable near 4% swing, meant that Donald Trump never needed to actually be in the lead in the opinion polls to actually win the election. As long as he was within 4% points of Hillary Clinton, then he could win. So back on the 25th of September, Donald Trump was polling 41% against Hillary Clinton on 44%, which was well within the 4% Brexit factor band, and which had a further 6 more weeks to run, given the trend trajectory that Trump was on, would give him an even greater probability of winning than had been the case for Brexit, as illustrated by the betting markets like Betfair. For whilst Trump was trading at 3.05 at the time of my analysis against Hillary on 1.58, i.e. the closer to 1 the greater the probability of winning, the odds for Brexit had been far worse a month out from polling day. Typically Leave was trading on between 3.6 and 4.2. So at the time of my analysis, Trump was ahead in terms of probability of winning, which is why I concluded that Trump would win the election. So what has transpired over the following 5 weeks? Have the polls stayed the same, tightened or widened? More importantly, how have the betting markets performed as a more reliable moving indicator? Did we move ahead of where Brexit was or behind? For Brexit peaked at around 2.6 about a week out of the vote before retreating back over 3. Well, Donald Trump peaked in the betting markets in the hours before the first presidential debate on the 26th of September at 2.88 against 1.59 for Hillary, whilst the polls remained unchanged at 44% for Hillary against 41% for Trump. And then the Donald spoke. And just after the first debate, the betting market confirmed that Trump had lost. The odds continued to move against Trump's election win. Accelerating meltdown of the Trump odds to end September at 3.75. By the 1st of October, there was little sign of Trump recovery, at which time I posted a video on how Trump could still win the election. Then on the 4th of October, Trump continues his losing trend as he breaks back above 4. Finally, some good news as Pence wins the VP debate on the 5th of October. And Trump continues his recovery for a couple more days to 3.8. But by the 8th of October, then hit by the leaked audio tape of Trump groping women's private parts, which definitely did not go down well with the electorate, sending him above 4 to 4.8. And Trump's campaign continued to freefall to 5.7. However, on the 10th of October, Trump wins the second debate, generating a minor bounce towards 5.2, which just does not last. But Hillary pulls away in the polls, now 7 points ahead. So Trump crashes to a new low of 6.2 on the 11th of October, with no sign of an end to Trump's collapse as he goes to 6.4, then 6.6 by the 15th of October, as Trump's campaign is literally on life support, with the media speculation now for a Hillary landslide. So another 5 days on, the 20th of October, Trump bounces a little into this third debate to 5.8, but soon is back above 6 with no sign of a recovery, and no way Brexit can bridge such a wide gap this late in the game. And there he remains until the 28th of October with no change. Trump still stagnating as the mainstream media attempts to buy the election for Hillary. However, by the 30th of October, Trump is boosted by Hillary's emails FBI bombshell that sends his standing to 4.2. And now, as the media focuses on Hillary's emails, Trump today stands exactly where he was at the end of September on 3.75. It's as if the whole of October never happened. So the FBI bombshell appears to have acted to wake up a large section of the electorate to realise that this is probably their one and only chance to vote for something different. Though still, according to the pollsters and pundits, Trump does not have any real chance of winning, as illustrated once more by Nate Silver's site that gives Hillary a 71% probability of winning against Trump on just 29%, which compares to a week ago when this same site had Hillary on 88%. 88%? Whenever I've concluded in a particular market as having a over 80% probability, I tend to put a large chunk of my wealth on it, which illustrates just how worthless these pollsters are, given the degree to which they tend to shift probabilities going from 60% to 88%, back down to 71%, all in the space of a month. The latest Betfair price has Trump on 3.75, which is exactly where he ended September, which compares against Brexit that was trading at about 3.3 by this time. Meanwhile, Hillary's 7% average opinion points lead has crashed to just plus 2.2%, which is well within the Brexit factor for Trump to achieve victory. All this whilst the pollsters, bookies, pundits, media and markets continue to discount and Hillary Clinton win, whilst failing to realise that this election gives the people of America a chance to vote for their own Brexit freedom against a vote for a corrupt Washington elite who have ruled America for decades that Hillary Clinton is the queen of. So, in my final conclusion, despite the opinion polls, market, media, bookies, the Brexit factor for a 3% swing or so from Hillary to Trump means that Trump can win this election. And therefore my forecast of 25th of September 2016 stands, of Trump winning on 51% against Hillary on 49%, ignoring the third party candidate votes. The bottom line is that this election is all about, do Americans really have the balls to vote for Brexit freedom, or do they want the same corrupt Washington politicians to rule over them for another 40 years? For many, if not most, watching this video, then this is your very last chance to vote for freedom, for the one party state will ensure you won't get a second chance. Ensure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel for more ongoing in-depth analysis and detailed forecasts.